This will start up.
You're good to go.
Thanks very much, all. Appreciate you taking us to a live forum. We'll call the meeting to order. I believe we have everyone here, so we have a quorum. Does anybody have a conflict of interest declaration that they would like to make on any of the items that we're going to be discussing this evening? No? Okay. You've all had a chance to see the agenda. There is one new item. Well, actually, a couple of new items that we would like to bring up. One is deals with the RCMP, and the second one deals with a grant that the province is offering for health services. So we'll bring those up under new business. But other than those two items, everything else you've all had a chance to look at. If there's no questions or comments on the agenda, if I could have someone move that the agenda be adopted with those two additions. Thanks, Al. A second. Okay. Thank you very much. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And I can't see you guys on there, but I'm assuming that you're okay with that. Any nays? Okay.
I am, yeah. I'm driving on a freeway, so I'll only speak if I'm opposed to something. How about that?
Okay, I'll phrase it in that direction as well. Okay, you've all had a chance to look at the minutes from the board meeting of 26 January 2023. If there are any questions or no comments, you may signify, or can I have someone move that those minutes be accepted as presented? Al, thank you. A second. Thank you, Dave. All those and anyone that is in favor of this may signify yay by remaining silent. All those opposed? Thank you very much. Passed. A business arising from previous minutes or meetings, sorry. Committees and nominees. And I'm going to hand it over to Hollis for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to share the screen. So I have currently this list that's in front of you, things, those that were submitted to me, mayors, and I wanted to ask, because on the initial one where I asked for your first, second, third choice, what I've done in this list is I put all of your three choices here. So that would be, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're on those committees. It just means that I put them there because those were the choices you indicated. And if you want to make a change, you let me know. This is a pretty good starting point for the committees. We're probably going to nominate more later on, but this would at least get us going. And thank you for everybody for sending me these folks. I've also added under community development, there was kind of three key people that are carryover from vibrant communities. So again, these are as it stands now, and what we can do in order to get things going is appoint these people, and we can probably do that with a single motion to appoint as what's presented if you wanted to, or if there's changes that you want to make to any of this list. You know, we can certainly do that too.
We didn't make the cut.
Hollis, just for your information, I sent you an email with all of the different committees in my my community's representation from council. I emailed it to you about 10 minutes before the meeting. True fashion.
Okay, that explains why I don't have it on the list. Thank you, Brad.
No problem.
I think mine was off too. Or you said you put our names where we put in for, right?
Yeah.
Not saved or what happened? My email said economic development, public safety and recreation is my third. You've only got me down for two.
Oh, I missed recreation. Okay.
That's all right. I mean, I don't care. I'll do anything that will help. That's for sure.
Oh, you don't hear all of them.
Could you send me anything?
No, we did it right here. Let me stuff it in there.
Okay, well, that'd be my.
We do.
I think some of that's being hidden by the screen there as well.
No, I never.
No, I don't see it on here, on
The
the,
landfill one.
yeah. main site.
Harvey, you're on that one as well.
That's right, too. You did send me, you did give me all that stuff.
You typed it in there,
Yeah.
you just hit save. I just teased.
I had a lot going on.
Oh, I know. No, I'm good, but I think it was act dev. Recreation and,
That's for you personally.
yeah. Oh.
Anyway, that's the status of what I have at the moment. I've got some additions, I guess, from St. Andrews. And a couple of additions from St. Stephen. And the correction there for Camp Bello.
And I haven't sent my names in for my folks from the village that are gonna be
Yeah.
participating.
Yeah, I assume that there's gonna be some more as we move on. And we can make these appointments at any time. Nothing's, doesn't have to be set in stone. But this would at least get us going.
I had an alternate for public safety was Linda Brown. Is that what you want? Just put that on the bottom of the list there with the three.
Yep.
So just didn't see it on there, but I had it.
I had sent an update for Graham and Ann as well for tourism. It was late yesterday afternoon or this morning. I can't remember which one, but just to round out our listings.
Okay.
Thanks, Mon.
So I'll have to look for that.
So if I wanted, Ian to attend this, or he already connected to that already?
He's already gonna be,
Yeah, so there's no point, and he's gonna be already dealing with it.
but yeah, no, Ian should definitely be there. Everything. And I know that like for Eastern Charlotte, for instance, we've got Mayor Craig, but we also have Glenn.
Yeah, which is a good choice.
Which makes, total sense. So, if you would like, and this is your choice, I would need a board motion on this for the appointment part. We can appoint everybody individually, which is going to be several motions, probably 20 of them, 30 of them, or we can make a motion to appoint what is there now, and then we can add on at the next month, or we can wait until the next month, whatever you like to do.
I make a motion that we accept the names as presented by our CEO. Or members of the committees. That makes sense.
As represented here.
As presented.
As presented here.
The initial.
I would
Initially.
second- I would
the
second
initial
that.
group, yeah.
That's the motion, that's second.
And they're all pretty good size. I mean,
Yeah, they're not.
things are gonna happen.
So
Can I put my name in the blanks that nobody from home, like that we didn't have anyone to take? I just feel that we're missing some representation, and somebody's gotta do it kind of thing. Mine was supposed to be public safety and economic development, and I said the third one could be recreation, but I mean, you can put my name in all of them if you want, I don't care. You don't seem to have a lot of interest in helping some stuff for some reason.
Well, someone else is doing it, that's all that matters sometimes. Till something doesn't happen.
I mean, we could do it after anything we had to do before, we could finish it.
Like I said, we can get a starting point, and then any additional appointments and things we can catch up later, but at least we can get just roll.
okay, so
Motion.
yeah, we have a motion on the floor and a seconder. I'm okay with doing that. as you say, I just want to make sure we understand that this is not the final. Because for me, for example, under economic development, I really wasn't planning on being on that economic development. Donnie Doherty is going to be my representative. But you don't have that yet. And so I don't mind sitting in on the first meeting or two just to see how it's going and get Donnie involved.
Is there,
But
what's the scenario if we just didn't do it at all and just wait till next month? We can still be active, or is it a bother to adopt this and then change it, or does it make any difference to you guys? Does it matter either way? Okay.
I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
We get it started that way. For example, economic development, Charlene, I know she's been going around talking to everyone. She then can call the meeting, we can have some people there, and then we can identify who's going to be there from our municipalities or LSD. So I don't have any problem with the motion itself, but I just want to make sure everybody understands it's kind of an open-ended thing. So we,
You can always answer.
yeah, exactly, or delete.
I think it's a good start so we can get
Get it started.
going and.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So the motion's on the floor. We have a second.
I got it.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Bonnie.
It's okay. I was going to jump in there before you called for the vote at some point. I just have a question where we have some names that were submitted but haven't made it to the table. If there is a meeting of those committees between now and our next board meeting, are those nominees able to participate, or do they have to wait till the subsequent meeting? Like, I just am wondering about the practicality of that part of it.
They're not private per se, so there's no reason they couldn't. And at committee meetings, you don't actually vote on anything, right? So
I'm just thinking, like, if the initial setup, sometimes that's where some of the critical first discussion happens. And if you miss the first meeting, you always feel like you're playing catch up. So that was my only question. But if they can participate, I have no problem with going ahead.
Maybe what we could do is we could have, because for example, McAdam's not represented on the tourism, even though I have someone already selected that's going to come and visit that or be part of that committee. Perhaps if we asked the staff members when they set these meetings up, or the preliminary meeting, that they reach out to each of us so that we then can alert the folks that we have selected to make sure that they're available for those meetings as well. And that way we can get them engaged. But we will pass the names in to you over the next couple of days. Okay.
Just one more question.
Yeah.
Are we adopting the one he just edited here?
no, the one you, because nobody has that.
Yeah. But
No, we're gonna do, so just this one
Yeah.
with no additions on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a quick clarifying question. So obviously we have almost 3 portfolios per mayor. I'll use economic development for an example, because if we see Mayor Craig, there's Glenn Hawkins from the community as well. So is all of those people going to be appointing another individual from their community? Because if so, the committee size would be like 16 people if we're all appointed to it. You know what I mean? It's pretty large group. When we did the 1, 2, 3, I thought we'd probably see where the gaps are and each take 2, but it looks like we're all going to be on 3, which I'm not opposed to. It just, if everybody adds another one, plus there's 7 mayors on it, it's a pretty big committee.
Yeah, for me, Brad, as I was saying a little earlier, my name is there under economic development right now because I was asked to pick 3. So I filled in for the 3 that I would have to fill in for if it was required. But I already have someone selected to sit on the Economic Development Committee. So as soon as that individual starts going to those meetings, I will be backing away from that committee. Yeah.
And I would do the same for you, Sharon. No use of Glenn Hawkins and myself both being at the meeting. And so I agree with
Perfect. Same thing. So I have a representative for each committee, but if I'm on 3 and then every mayor it's pretty big committees, right?
Yeah, no, that's what we were trying to avoid, all right.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to overburden each of the mayors and the LSD rep either. So that's why we wanted to try and minimize I won't say minimize, because that's the wrong terminology, but limit our requirement to sit on these committees so that we don't overburden ourselves, but that the board is still represented on each. So, yeah, no, you make a good point, Brad.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that was part of the reasoning why I wanted to make sure that these are open so that we can move in and out of them as required down the road. Okay. Any other questions, comments on the motion that's on the floor? Okay, I'll pick it up off the floor and I'll put it on the table. Now that we, all those in favor may signify yay by remaining silent. All of those, anybody? No. Anybody opposed? May speak now. Okay, motion is passed. Next item is the satellite office update.
So at the last regular board meeting, there was a motion to look at putting an office in Eastern Charlotte or in the Eastern Charlotte region. I just want to give an update on that, but I have done some research and some work into that, and I think I may have a solution that will, because I was asked to bring forth a business case for this, and if all goes according to plan, it will end up costing us nothing except for the initial. There's a little bit of an initial cost, but I may be able to do this for nothing. I actually have a meeting with a possible co-tenant tomorrow. So, and what it is, I don't want to go into too much detail about where it's going or anything like that just yet, because I don't, there's other people involved here. But what it is we actually have an office trailer that we've had that's in really good shape. It needs a little bit of, to look better, it needs a little bit of work. But that's what the potential solution could be. And so I should have more on that next one.
Okay. Any other comments, questions on that one? Okay. CCG, Charlotte County Ground Search and Rescue Update, just in case somebody else doesn't understand what GSAR is. Over to you, Hollis, again on that.
So at our previous board meeting, we had a motion to support ground search and rescue by assisting them with obtaining a new mobile command unit, in financially as well as banking for it. There's no real update here, except that I have had a recent conversation with the RANC, and that's moving along. But there's nothing new to report since that time.
Okay. RFP strategic planning.
Okay, so we obtained some financing from the government to help us with our strategic planning. And so I have an RFP put together. I'm actually speaking with one of the folks next week, which is a good candidate. Early next week, I'll have more to report back. Before we select the actual contractor, I will bring it to this board for your vote. Like, I'm going to score the proposals and then present them and at the next board meeting, and you can choose which one to go with. This will be somebody, like a larger, it's going to be in a larger firm, because that's the only people I think will be doing this. It's going to help us through this strategic planning process. The original deadline on that was July 1st to have a strategic plan done. But I've since had, a couple of meetings, and there's never a solid answer from provincial government, but July 1st, I've indicated that what I need by July 1st is some kind of framework and enough information by July 1st that I can start creating the budget for 2024. The rest of the, the fine details of the plan is probably going to take several months after that. But I will know more once we get the proposals from our bidders.
Okay. Any questions, comments on the last couple of items? Okay. Bylaw update.
So I do have an update there. There's a a company called Linwood Strategies. And it's his name, Chad Peters, is the principal there. Some of you may know him from some of the consultations and things that we had with local governments reform. Anyway, he has made a proposal to the provincial government, which I think is a good one, which means that we don't have to pay for it. And he's going to review all of the bylaws for all of the service commissions to bring them all into, so nothing's way out of whack, and to bring them up to date. So there's no cost to us, and he's going to have that done by the end of March. So that's why I didn't want to move forward with actually voting on it right now, because we'll probably get a lot out of this, I think. And that also, by the way, includes crack bylaws.
One of the, I don't know if this is the proper place to bring it up, but I think it probably is. At our last meeting, we had a lot of discussions going on around the table about mandates and what our mandate is. And I kind of got the impression that some people felt that our mandate is only driven by the provincial government. And I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that we are not an arm of the provincial government. We are a nonprofit corporation, and we have the right as a board to make our own decisions as to what we want the mandate for this organization to be. We can change that if we wish. I'm not saying we need to rush out and change the mandate, but I just want to make sure we understand that that the mandate here is set by the board. Now, certainly within guidelines, and I'm not going to, we're not going to, because there's a lot of stuff coming down from the province that's being laid at our feet to try and sort things out. You're going to hear about one of them here in just a few minutes. But I just wanted to put that out on the table to make sure we're all in it. We all understand that aspect of it. There was a lot of concern when we started this process that we were becoming another arm of government. And I just want to make sure and assure the people who are listening that we are not another arm of government, even though we are taking on additional responsibilities to bring the region closer together in how we do business. So that was the intent of that discussion. So, yeah.
So I just want to add to that, or the proper word is for that. But there is, how many more regions is there in the province? There's 11. So we're also connected with other regions that can support our, and this if we want to change. So are you, you're connected with the other regions, right? We don't have a board member that's connected. Is there not, like, there wouldn't be a committee of,
There was talk about
like that, because that would unite us better. So if there was something we didn't like governor of the day was pushing along, we get the regions to work together, just like UNMD does.
Yes.
And you could
there was
condense.
there was talk about creating a committee or group of all of the board chairs of all the regional service commissions. Like I meet with the other CEOs every week.
Okay.
Virtually. But there was talk about taking all the board chairs and having them do, maybe not every week, but at least get together periodically, just for that reason.
I mean, if we could do it, like, we wouldn't have to go over the problems, we could do it right there. Or
Yeah.
whatever, right? It would be good to have that connection, because you'd be surprised, we're all dealing with the same things. We're in a roundabout way, so it would give us more strength. Because I do agree, like, because we do get controlled by government with the carrots they send us, right? So it'd be nice to maybe start controlling the carrots.
Yes.
If that makes sense. But
I do think we are going to have to educate the public, though, that we aren't a branch off the provincial government. Simply for the fact that if you look at, Fundy Shores, there's, a community that joined our RSC, and not that we don't want them, but it wasn't like we had a voice for their own mandate. It's not like Fundy Shores had a voice for their own mandate. We have new services that we had no voice in to determine if we wanted them or not. There was allocated amounts of money that we have to contribute to for our municipalities that, again, we had no voice on. and I think you can see where I'm going is in the eyes of, council and the public is we are very much mandated on what we can and can't do by the province of New Brunswick. So it's going to be a hard message to get out there considering what we went through when it comes to reform.
I agree, Brad. We were well on our way. This RSC for changing the way the RSC function from a regional perspective, as you know. We had brought in a lot of services that we did now, or that we now do regionally, that other regions didn't do. And since our, I guess, connection with the province with these additional responsibilities that have been handed to us, what we had accomplished is now being shared amongst the other RSCs in the province. And I don't think we want to lose that capability to think outside the box as to how we decrease the cost of our municipalities and our taxpayers for the operation of our region. So I see where I agree with you totally, Brad. And I even had one of my counselors say, well, you are another branch of the government. I said, no, we're not. But it sure looks like it to a lot of people out there.
Well, they're just passing the work off to us. That's what they're doing.
There's a lot of that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, we are a governing body, obviously. I mean, but we gotta let people know that we're theirs directly.
We're there.
Yeah, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we're there representing them.
Yeah, like we're the direct contact, like we're it.
Okay, I just felt I needed to bring that up because I have been getting questions on it, and I know we discussed it last meeting. If there's nothing else with that, anything else under business arising from the previous minutes that anybody wants to bring up? Okay, new business. We have two items there. Do you want to tackle that RCMP one first, Hollis?
Sure, we can do the RCMP one. So they have contacted me. They've got a Q3 report ready, but we also haven't spoken to them about Q1 and Q2 reports. So they want to meet with this board. And the question is, and Ken and I talked about this, and we just thought we'd let you guys to decide this. Do you want this at a regular board meeting? Would you like a special board meeting? Because I suspect it might be a little bit more involved, this discussion, or should this be at a committee of the whole?
There's two choices here, committee of the whole or send it off to the public safety committee as well. Does the RCMP fall under?
Yeah, they specifically asked to address the whole board. So.
But I would suggest committee of the whole. That's fine. Do you want a motion for that or just?
No, well, we just wanted to put it out on the table.
Well,
That's fine, that's fine.
they want to come and present to us.
Yeah.
Oh, that could, yeah, board meeting.
Committee of the whole will be fine.
Committee of the whole. That's my suggestion.
Then it'd be on one of our regular times anyway. It's not like we're
The reason
taking a whole extra day. But
The reason I say committee of the whole, it gives us more opportunity to question the RCMP with the cameras and everything else.
and our
It's
board
not that we're
meeting,
trying to hide it, it's just that.
our board meeting usually has a pretty good agenda as it is anyway.
Exactly.
Isn't our community public?
Committee of the whole.
Oh, it
It's
isn't.
committee meeting.
No, remember I asked the last meeting, I guess we kind of get into a whole, we went awry a little bit, so that's why I wanted to know.
Yeah, the committee of the whole is like where you can.
Like our committee meetings at the new entity there.
Are
I mean, no one shows up, but I mean, they're public.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I-
they start-
I do wonder to John's point, though, if I like the idea of committee of the whole, but I wonder about inviting the public safety committee as well. Is it appropriate to have a joint meeting with the public safety committee and the whole board?
I don't think they would disagree with that, Bonnie. They would probably be willing to do that.
Yeah, it would save us as members trying to get that information over the public safety, rather than just have them here in the room and they can hear it firsthand.
Other than a couple, most of us on the public safety committee are here.
Maybe about 4 additional
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah, I like that, 'cause mine is my deputy mayor, and I like to have it. So.
Just to make it easy for everyone, this is a question before I say it makes it easy for everyone. Aren't we all allowed to go to any one of these meetings, are we not?
Oh, sure,
Like-
and the board chair is always ex officio on every
That's
meeting
cool.
anyway, right?
There you go. So I mean, so we can all make, you can make it a public safety meeting if you wanted, and we can just all go.
Yeah, you can do
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least keep it in the right category, if that's important. I think.
And that way they know that they're meeting a board anyway. So, yeah, we could do it that way too.
I'll go the other way, just throwing ideas.
Okay, why don't we, we'll ask them to come to we could do it during our committee of the whole and just bring the safety committee along with us.
Save an extra night.
Yeah.
That would be in March. Talking our March committee of the whole meeting.
Can be.
This depends on their availability, but yeah, March would be fine. Can't see why not.
They give an agenda, or they're just gonna kind of come and get what we get.
Yeah, well, there'll be the Q3 report, plus they haven't spoken about Q1 or Q2 reports either to this board. So,
They also have a questionnaire out there. I don't know if anybody else got it, but I got
Yes,
it.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't filled it out yet.
I haven't done mine yet either, but I was kind of waiting.
I didn't do that yet.
so I will get back to them and let them know second Thursday
In March.
in March. And if they can't do that one, for whatever reason, would the April one be?
People are working.
Are
You'll be
you
back?
here? Are you here? Or you're gone? You're gone in April, aren't you?
I'll be gone for that meeting, but I have other people that can.
Okay.
And we're gonna fill out that survey, or they'll be looking at us, say, how come we didn't fill out that survey? I didn't do mine either.
The deadline is March 12th, I think.
I was half thinking of, I didn't know if I could forward, I was gonna just let the chair of my.
Oh,
Public safety fill out, like really, because, that's what I was thinking, but that's why I kind of been waiting.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item then, which is the,
I'll share my screen here again.
there's a proposal from the province to.
So the
give us
previous,
some info.
the previous discussion that we had about us not being government and mandates and things like that is a perfect segue to this one. So we have, and this was today that this document landed in my inbox, and we had a meeting about it this morning. I had heard about this last fall, but there was almost no details on it. So what's happening is the Department of Health is offering regional service commissions $100,000 for the first year, and then $50,000 a year after that. And this is to identify and define healthcare worker shortage, establish an advisory committee, and which involves regional stakeholders and communities. The whole idea is medical practitioner recruitment and retention. We already have a committee in place, right? So anyway, I have to apply for this before the end of March, because end of government fiscal. And it's not mandatory, but the way that they put it is, here's $100,000 to help you with medical recruitment. They didn't say what it was for, and I specifically asked the question, what exactly is this money for? And why are you giving it to us? Like, why don't you do something with it yourself? But that's,
I'm just thinking that.
yeah, I was a little perturbed, but anyway, it was a good conversation. So anyway, there's this money available. I would need a motion from this board to go forward and put in the application. And the application is super simple. It's a letter. Say that, yes, we want to do this
What was the name of the
program.
program?
community promotion.
So is
funding
there,
program.
I guess for the money, you just said a bit of it, but is there no terms of reference or anything for it of saying if you do get it, then you have to be a specific timeline or things that we have to spend it for?
Literally, that's all the
You-
documentation they have.
You got, right.
So if you get the money, so you apply for it and you, the board gets the money, then.
What has to happen is there has to be a committee established or an existing committee used. They have to submit quarterly reports to both this board and Department of Health on the progress they're making. And the idea is to create a strategy for recruitment and retention and follow through with that.
So I'll, if we're gonna, I'd make the motion, but.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
There's gotta be
there's
some,
other
yeah,
stuff
there's
here,
usually
but-
something
like, you're not
attached
just
for
gonna
money.
hand
I
you
don't.
100,
I don't.
Initially, then
They send a
50.
report every quarter. And then that's.
We have to do stuff.
Yeah.
I think what's happening is, a number of the RSCs are setting up these community, health programs, to try and attract, recruit new, physicians and medical personnel. And I think they realize, just supposition here, is that these groups are going to be requiring some money to, function. And so I think that's why they're handing it out to the RSCs, is so that we then can go to our, health committee and say, okay, they can then come to us and say, we need a little money to do this, or we need a little money to do that. And then we would be the conduit for that money going out.
All
That's
right.
how I would see it.
Well, I'm
That's-
glad
that's
you
sense,
kind of put it
yeah.
that way, because I was struggling with the fact, like, very quickly, because a lot of just heard about this. But we've been pushed to get one group, and we made two into one, and then here we are making a group and a group again.
Yes.
You know, so we're gonna be supporting the group, but sort of the carrot holder.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it, Al.
Okay.
Is, we got, we'll hold on
Hold
to
the
the
purse.
cash.
You hold the purse.
Yeah, all right, now I got you, and I'm on board.
But the money would be for this, that 100,000, each RSC would be getting 100,000.
That's correct.
Just, okay,
If they apply.
So we're gonna move
so I would make the motion to apply.
So the
for
first
the
year.
community promotional funding program. Okay.
Yeah,
So in there, the first year is 100,000, and then the annual grant thereafter is 50,000 per year.
He moved it and you seconded it.
I'll
So
second
we
it.
have, Benny moved. Jim
Oh, that's
second.
many things. Sorry,
No, no.
I'm just reading all the things that it's
Yeah.
packed.
Well, the marketing and the branding marketing, it's all about attracting medical personnel to the region. Right, so.
and there's nothing saying what medical personnel.
There isn't a lot more details than that. I'm imagining it's, the creation of, targeted brochures, let's say, or targeted website. Come to Southwest New Brunswick. All this, quality of life and et cetera, kind of explain all that kind of stuff, but it's targeted to, you're trying to recruit somebody in Cuba, say, or whatever, like a doctor, or you're trying to recruit from out west, nurses come back, or things like
They're
that.
kind of offloading it a bit off of them for us to do somewhat of the work, but I kind of feel, well, two things is one, it's $100,000. Why not apply for it? And two, probably feel better us as a region recruiting or sending that stuff out. Because we know more what we want than what government does. So
Yeah,
I
one of
think
the-
it's a good idea.
One of the things we're doing in McAdam, at the manor there is, we've gone out, and I don't know who exactly it is. But we've gone out, they've brought in a person from, the Philippines. And, they've gone through that vetting process, and they have to work here, I think it's, and I could be I'm not totally wrong, but I could be off a little bit, so don't quote me. But there's a 2-year period that they have within which they become qualified in the province as a nurse. So how we're dealing with that is that we can't get enough nurses to come to McAdam. So we've gone out and they want to send more to us, but we've got one right now that's coming. They should be here within the next month or two. We're going to purchase a house in the village that they can come and they will live in. Their family comes a couple or 3 months later, so they'll have a place to stay until they can get him qualified. And then once he's qualified, then he can go buy his own house and we will have already started the process of bringing in the next one. And so I look at this and somebody said, well, they're not gonna stay. Well, I'm not concerned. I am concerned, but I'm not. The purpose of this body is not really to worry so much about a nurse going to your or yours or yours, because if I get a nurse that comes in and becomes qualified in McAdam, if they go to St. Stephen, happy, they're staying in the region. They're going to be fulfilling a role at the regional level. I can always bring another one in and get them qualified, and I will try to keep them in McAdam, but if they decide to move on, and also coming from the Philippines, I have another Filipino woman who lives in the village. Certainly, I will connect them right off the bat. I will connect them to the Filipino community here in St. Stephen, so that they feel at home in this region. And then if they move around within the region, that's fine.
We have a huge amount of Filipinos in eastern Charlotte.
Yes,
It's a starting point.
it's a starting point. We need to start bringing new people in. And maybe, I'm not saying we'd use the money for that here in McAdam, because I don't need it. I've already got that sorted out. But when this board meets and we're trying to attract people in, well, then you can use the funding to go to those organizations and find those people that would be willing to come here. Perhaps that's one avenue that the money could be spent on. So there's a lot of different ways that we could use that money to attract new people into the region.
Bonnie's good.
Bonnie. I keep forgetting to look up there and see that yellow hand.
I'll start waving if you get too far down the conversation.
Thank you.
Fully agree with the motion, with what you said. I do just want to flag, did we appoint people to the other health committee? Because I don't remember having that conversation, because part of what I do want to flag on this motion is that there are 2 hospitals in the region. And while I think it's absolutely appropriate that most of the focus has been on the Charlotte County Hospital because of the size and the number of communities that it does serve, I do want to flag the fact that we do have a small hospital on Grand Manan that also has healthcare recruitment challenges. And I don't want to lose sight of that any more than, you know, the issues around attracting people to McAdam and other places. So I think it makes sense that there's this funding out there. I think we need to have it for the region, but I want to make sure that we're not just focusing on one area when we have another one that also needs some assistance.
No, absolutely, Bonnie. True enough. We did have a situation where we thought we had a doctor hired to come into the region, and that individual was they would have been based out of St. Stephen, but they would have traveled. So they would have traveled a day to McAdam. They might have traveled a day to Grand Manan. We lost that individual for reasons I won't go into here, but that's the type of thing that we should be looking at, is try and focus as one option. I'm not going to say that's what we should be doing, but as one option, we should be trying to focus and then have them travel, or we can try and that's just one option. Another option is to try and get them to come into various parts of it. But as we know from our previous meetings, our medical professionals today, the younger ones, want to work in a communal environment where they can then have access to somebody that's going to manage their practice for them from a financial administrative perspective. And then they want to be able to have other more experienced doctors around them so that they can draw on that experience. But they're not, the ones that we've been talking to, some of them are not afraid to travel to one of the outlying locations like one day a week. So I just want us to realize we can continue to think outside the box.
Absolutely. And hopefully on Grand Manan, we're going to be in a position within the year so that we'll have facilities that will lend itself to that type of environment. But when you talk about, you know, the reluctance to work alone, that's only exacerbated when you're on an island that's a 2-hour sail from anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Denny?
No, I guess just on that, I guess it's back to the motion and I would sooner the board or as mayors in our communities look after some of this stuff healthcare. I know it's taken on a little bit more of a role than having government or Horizon looking after it, because that's where I think you're gonna lose some healthcare professionals when those two.
Yeah,
I don't know, you said you
We
didn't
already
talk about it. I guess I threw it out on the table, but.
yeah.
We already have a help. These guys at St. Stephen had one, and then we had one, and then you joined, right? Is that?
That's like,
I thought so.
Charlotte and St. Stephen, yeah,
Right.
well, so
Right.
pretty much whole region for, yeah.
Yeah.
You're there, yeah.
So I just figure the money would be better used here or try to
Absolutely.
keep them here than.
When I got this, and after I had this meeting today, I spoke to staff here because there's gonna need to be some staff support. Just some resources, right? So it would be a joint kind of effort between community development, economic development, and even recreation and tourism. So basically everybody works downstairs in this building, and they're all on board with it. So there's some staff resources from us to put forward to manage this kind of a thing.
And it would be because healthcare takes in all of those, right? Really,
does, yeah.
it's a big file.
Yeah.
Was this a one time, 1 year thing, or
It's
just,
50,000 a year.
oh, so it isn't $100 once then, okay, so.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
100
yeah.
this
It's
year.
100 this year, is 50.
Oh,
Every-
Each year, subsequent years you get.
Till they run out of money, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it's any other comments, questions before we go to the vote? Okay, so we have the motion on the floor. We have a seconder. All those in favor of the motion signify yea by remaining silent. Anyone opposed may speak now. Motion passed. Thank you very much. Now, Bonnie, you brought up a question on who is going to represent the board at this health committee. And I was thinking about that before the meeting, and I had it written down to bring it up. I can't remember if we made any decisions at our last meeting. Was there any decisions made on who's going to represent the board at our meeting of the whole? And this is at the health committee.
Oh, the health committee.
No,
We didn't make a decision.
I don't remember.
So I know we had agreed that only 2 of us would be required at that committee. So then I guess we haven't decided which 2 want to be on that.
See, the health committee isn't really like an RFC committee.
No, it's not.
It's just a community thing.
But it came back to the board
Yeah.
because originally we had all of the mayors were on there plus the LSD. Rep, you know. And they already had about 30 people on the committee, and I just figured, well, maybe 2 from this board would be more than enough.
it's,
Yeah, no, and that's the one we kind of got
yeah,
side railed the last time, right on. Yeah, and that was my feeling, was there's way too many and there's not the right people on it when I looked at the list, and it's got the logo at the top that just deters a lot of people from even
Who's the logo?
Horizon.
Oh,
Oh, you just want to be, you just want.
and they're attending many of those meetings, which is surprising. But they have representation at those meetings all the time now.
Oh, yes.
So that was unheard of, you know, for 5-6 years ago when they were doing it. So that tells me there's action happening. I really do feel something's happening. What that is, no clue, but but that's the other thing is like we'll get this money, but that other group is in control of this venture really. So I don't know how we're gonna work that.
We're going to, as we discussed at our committee of the whole, there's a number of issues coming out of that as to what the original St. Stephen committee was doing, what we were doing, what Horizon Health is asking us to do. So there's some divergence there in thought.
And just to be clear, this isn't Horizon Health. This is Department Health.
Yeah, but they run. Don't forget that Horizon, this is way above Horizon.
Yeah.
This is different, but you're right. Dan, I'm glad you brought that up. So I didn't know that for like a few years. I wasn't even getting that. And then I finally got it. And they're the ones that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, not at all. So we don't need to make a decision here. If you want to sit on that committee, please submit your name to Hollis and we'll ratify them at our next meeting. But we should have representation if they hold a meeting in the interim. I certainly will go in for the board, and if anybody else wants to go, I can notify people, but
I think that,
until somebody's selected.
I think
You attend those.
maybe.
Me and my
it might be-
mayor's there, where she has been.
Might be wise to, you know, like I've shown this to this board tonight. Like I literally got this document today, so I turned to this board tonight, but it might be wise to talk to them about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was thinking of sending that off to Sharon. Maybe you could do it, Al, because
Just keep in mind, once you're gonna light them up with that, they'll be all over that, like. So you're
Well,
on it.
yeah, we'll make sure they understand that it's.
It'd be nice if we had an idea of what we wanted to do with it before we started.
Yeah.
But we can hold on to it yet for a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, it may take talking to them to figure out what we want to do with it. It says a catch 22 there, but I'm just saying that when they're all over wanting it, believe me.
Okay, well, we'll play that one by ear a little bit maybe. And I'd like to see that committee come anyway to get together and discuss the way ahead, because they really haven't focused on the 4 subcommittees and setting those up yet. So once they get that kind of figured out, then the issue of money will probably come more to the fore, and at that point, then we can make that.
Well, one of the potential plans, and I think one of the intents of this funding, especially the extra 50,000 the first year, is so that they can get together and form a strategic plan and maybe even hire a professional to get that done for them. So I
Yeah.
think maybe that's, you know, it's right in line with where they need to be.
Well, they're not boring.
Maybe.
Well, they're just-
Sure.
So, but can I ask make a suggestion that we talk about having the actually come talk, maybe members of that board should come talk to us. And let us know what they're up to. Let this board know what they're up to and see where they're at. And that makes sense. But
I'll reach out to Sharon and see if she'd be willing to come during one of our meetings of the hall. And so we can discuss things. Okay. I think that was it on those. We'll turn now to, is there anything else anybody wanted to bring up under new business? I guess I should say that. Pardon me?
Yeah, I don't think
We
we voted
didn't
on
vote.
it.
Oh, sorry, did we not vote on that?
No. We
Yeah, we
started
did.
to.
yeah, it's fine.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
We were so quiet.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was.
Not really new business, but we talked about it way back when I first come. Did we ever look into the cell phone tower thing? Didn't you guys say you've been looking, trying to
Yes.
get one?
Yes.
Find anything else?
I actually had a conversation with our play last week about that. So we're still chasing it. We've offered the property.
Would letters of support maybe from some of us help? I mean, I'm willing to write something up if you think it'll help.
I don't think. I don't
But
necessarily.
it's funny because me and Alan Brad actually was talking about it in Fredericton. We was all there the other day. That spot, you lose service,
Well, the landfill is exactly the middle of the big hole of service that's right there in one station.
that. No, I was just curious when we thought about that the other day, and then I wondered if we ever heard any more about it.
Yeah, we get service at Thompson's Corner, if that makes sense to everybody, that's what I call it. Right up to the Green Broadway Bridge, I was still getting service. The other day. And then it goes.
Then it's dead for a while, yeah.
Okay. Good point, Harvey. Thanks for bringing that up. Anything else under new business? Okay, let's go to committee and staff reports. CEO report.
Okay, you have a CEO report in your packages there. I'm gonna read it out loud, every word for word, but just the high points. Solid waste, we are landfilling in cell 12 and making plans to get cell 13 ready. We've got a couple of years where we need it. But we're doing our initial work there. The The flare is completed and operational. We are still making some adjustments to the gas flow, just to if there's still some regulating of the gas that needs to happen. We have taken delivery of our new truck, the rock truck, off-road dump truck, I guess you call it. We got a pretty good deal on it. Surprised, it came in far under budget, so we're pleased with that, and it was in stock, so we were able to get it pretty quick too, which is another interesting turn of events. Planning department, our planning online system is operational and running this year. There was several months of changes and things to that system that were all made in-house because we built this in-house. And it's so because we built it in-house, it's exactly suited to what we do and our process, and we've tweaked and adjusted the process. Anyway, it seems to be working well. There's a bunch of bugs that we had to work through, obviously, in the kind of system. Way more complicated than I thought it was going to be when I first started out, but everybody seems to be pretty pleased with it. And what that means is that system now enables us to put those remote systems in Fundy Shores and Eastern Charlotte and very simply, and we can embed that system within your websites. So speak with the CAO of Eastern Charlotte actually yesterday about that, and if they want to actually have a building permit application within their website, it's really simple to do that. So it's a good system for that. So
I think I'd like to do that home.
yep.
That was good.
Yeah, yeah.
I got in hand one that's there, so she can give you his information or whatever, however we have to do it, but I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah,
Do you have timelines or for the kiosk one, like next week?
I
2
actually
weeks?
gave it today to Alex to run through a bunch of testing on it.
Okay.
So. Economic development. So you've probably most of you have probably heard from our economic development director. She's been putting a lot of stuff in place. Our funding proposal is in for the $227,000, and that's the portion of that 40 million that was announced by the government for the next 10 years. That's what our portion of that is. That means that we'll end up in a surplus in our economic development, I think, by the end of this year, which will be helpful for going forward. She's got a core team together for the labor market partnership forum, and is getting that solidified. And yeah, so we're putting together the contracts for working NB right now. Community development. So it's been moving along. It's, you know, that's one of the ones I haven't been worried about because it's almost, I didn't have to do anything on that one. I just had to hire the executive director of Vibrant Communities and tell him to carry on with the mandate. Now it's going to change a little bit. There is some stuff coming up. There is a transportation symposium coming up next month. He'll be attending, and I think he's going to bring along some of the other transportation providers, and that's being put on by USIC as well for the province. It falls under in the community development. Yeah, you can read about all the rest of it. There's been a lot of stuff. We've also been involved in the health needs assessment. So Horizon Health has engaged our community development and myself and a few other stakeholders in the health needs assessment. They called for Western Charlotte. I called them out on that. I said, look, you guys really need to start looking at this as a complete region. But their response is they can carry over a lot of stuff to the eastern part of the region, but they also have plans to do an eastern region health needs assessment, I think next year or the year after maybe. So they alternate stuff a little bit. This is just Horizon Health doing that. Seeing where their gaps are that on their own. In recreation, we've done a lot of work with Coastal Link Trail lately, and that's moving forward. Our coordinator there has been moving forward. Our next big area is going to be Musquash. And getting through that one. That one's a little bit more difficult for a variety of reasons. She has also started working on our tourism file. We have engaged our data analytics company in obtaining all the data for the tourism info for our region, and then it's separated into 8 separate geofences for the region. Just to break it down into who's going where, so we'll know what the demographics are of people coming here, where they're coming from, what they do when they get here, all that type of thing. So we know what they're doing. We also know what they're not doing. So we have some data to address that. Yeah, and that is my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions, comments on the report?
Just the coastal link trail. So the Musquash crossing of the trail, so where are they with that? Like, how far is that gonna be till like all year this year? Is that something that's gonna
It's
be?
going to take a while, yeah, to sort it out. That's from my understanding anyway. I suggest, being that, you know, this is your area, have you sat down with Sherry? Have you spoken with her?
I have a meeting scheduled for next week.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Very good. She'll want to talk to you about that. And you know what the best way forward is.
That's just because of the lay of the land. It's very good.
You know, it's the politics.
Oh, it's
Well, that's why I was wondering, because yeah, there'd be a lot. So that's,
Yeah, just different groups, and like, if there's a wetlands you can
Yeah.
cross. Or you can go through up another trail, but the trails are being used by power sports. There's a bunch of different things there. There's a possibility of shared use. Or there's a variety of different things done back there. So.
Well, I don't know if you guys have been in the know of this, but I have met, about last Saturday, I met them, was Quad New Brunswick, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And a lot of things have just happened. You guys may get a copy of the mutual, or no, it's an agreement for trails from Maine and New Brunswick. So if you have a trail pass in New Brunswick, you're welcome over there, vice versa. They're talking about wanting a place when they cross the border to load, unload, and like a feeding area or a loading area. But they're also talking about street use. In my case, I'd like to come down King Street and Milltown Boulevard to the border and be able to get to gas station, restaurants, that sort of thing. So that stuff will be coming. So I don't know how that would tie into this trail network.
Well, it does, and we've had lots of discussions in the past, and I have about if you can embrace power sports and ATV and not kind of try to just get rid of it, but if you try to embrace it, and so that there is if you don't help them get where they need to go and help them with the trails, they're going to make their own anyway. So, but there's also the argument to be made that people that are into power sports have disposable income. That stuff's not cheap. So you're not dealing with, you know, people with no money here. We're talking about economic development and tourism and recreation, and it crosses all kinds of things, right? So it's something that I think needs to be better addressed, especially in this part of the region. It's down Musquash, not so bad, but up this way it does need a little more refinement, I think.
Yeah, so just to help support the initiative, I guess, because just to be clear, I mean, as far as I am right now, I support the initiative because of what you just said. Many reasons. I'll never forget the time I'm sitting at Machias at Bluebird Ranch, having a meal with my wife, and the amount of wheelers and quads and whatever that rolled in and stopped at that Irving Cross Street and that restaurant was unbelievable.
It's a big industry.
It is a huge industry. So no matter what I do in St. Stephen, their biggest challenge is they got to get there. They more or less they said, you know, we got a little bit of time because we can't get there. There's so many other little things. But we got all these trail systems, but we can't have a trail, all these separate trail systems. That's not working together either.
Well,
we,
crossing power sports and greenway trails is,
yeah, I know, but it's not working together. I know.
and then getting the snowmobile guys to agree to the.
I know.
The ATV trails is quite hard sometimes. Vice
It
versa.
really is. It's too bad you couldn't get them all, they could make it all have a great system. Every one of us were working together on it. I think it's gonna be a huge economic movement. But just that whole New Brunswick main thing.
Mhm.
And if that gets heard about, people are gonna.
Well, they're putting new trail system in from Whiting Corner, like if you went, you know where I mean, going to Machias, where you turn to come back. They're putting a trail system in from there to Lubec. They got a new club, so if they could hook to us, I mean, that's a game changer. You could leave home and you could go for days if you wanted to, right? Like.
Yeah.
Well, that's
especially
why
if
I
you share
asked,
trail
right,
path.
because for us, as you know, it is a major. I'd almost say an industry in itself, like it's because we get them from St. John, there's a whole trail system and there's. Any given weekend, hundreds that go from there right to La Grove, to the gas
Yeah.
station, to the.
No,
You get them to your restaurant.
And no, we get them and we get them right there. And what the problem is with this is where we run into is we do have those multi-trails under one or two systems and they're really the motorsports part of it. They're really hardcore. This is mine and yeah. No, nobody else will have it on.
So the other thing that I've learned from this meeting was these other issues that we have, with their own separate issues with wheelers and all that. This group will help you with that. They'll literally help you police that because they don't want to get painted with that brush. So they'll knock on mom and dad's door, once because they're all in the know, they'll know who that person is, and they'll talk to mom and dad or the person driving the wheel and get them on board and straighten it out. So there's that advantage too. It was a good meeting, so I saw some great opportunity there.
When they took them railroad tracks up from, well, almost Callis, right to Ellsworth, I think it's 86 miles or something like that. That's a shared use. I mean, the wheelers are allowed on it until a certain date, and then the snowmobiles, but walkers are allowed on it all the time. They haven't had no problems that way, like it's
No.
well used.
Yeah.
Well, if you've seen it firsthand.
And it'd be nice to be able to get connected to, I used to have a four-wheeler, and but to get to McAdam, I had to drive trailer it out, but I can't remember the road. I can remember I picture the guy's house in Express Street, we parked there. Once we got there, it was clear sound and away to Clinkers we went. And it was a great adventure. I did it twice. It was fun. It'd be nice to get connected that way. I got a new pizza place up there too. So.
It'd be nice to have that connectivity. I know in our village, we passed new bylaws where the wheelers can move along the side of the roads there now. Because of that very issue, there's so many of these vehicles, as you guys all know. So it's an economic, there's an economic incentive to allowing them into your community so that they can get to the restaurants and the tourism type spots that they can get to. So, yeah. If anybody wants to see how we did it, more than happy. If you need somebody to talk to, we can set you up with those conversations as well.
Just quickly, did you do all streets or just certain?
Just the main drags, but we've always kind of had the philosophy. So long as they have the insurance, they're wearing the helmet and they're licensed, then just move slowly down the side of the road and you'll be all right. But now we've legitimized that on most of the streets there. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments on that? Good discussion. Okay. Would you want to go down to the financial update?
Yep. The only thing I really want to talk about in the financial update is don't pay a lot of attention to the budget side. Because this is how the system puts it out, and it's not, our budget isn't complete there, and we're still doing a bunch of catch up on year end. So just because it says 0 on the right side, you look at, say, for instance, payroll and solid waste, we didn't budget 0 for payroll, we actually budgeted money there, but yeah, so it's not meaningless what's there, but the actuals are really what you need to be paying attention to. And there's a couple of things there to note, like in where it says total solid waste fiscal services. There's a $535,000 entry there for January. That's because that includes the truck we bought, which was 500,000 of that. So yeah, there's basically this will look a lot better in February's. I do want to mention too, while we're on the financial statement, that our auditors have been and gone. It was interesting this year because it's more complicated, and there's also new rules that you heard about at our last committee meeting that had to do with IT and IT security, and I actually welcome those. I'm glad that they did go through those, and they were pretty meticulous about some of the procedures and things that we have, which was good to see, because it helps me sleep at night knowing that we're doing the right thing. Or if we're not doing the right thing, I can address and fix it. So I expect the report to be out within the next month or so.
One of the things that I noted on there was we have a standalone system that handles all the finances, all the accounting. It's not hooked into a network, but it is backed up every day. And I suspect almost hourly probably it's backed up, but I wouldn't swear to that one, but I know it's backed up regularly. As soon as I heard that, I went back to my macadam and said, how's our finances looked after? And ours is on a standalone as well. So that you have much less chance of having somebody hack into your network to look at and manage your finances for you instead of allowing you to do that. So it's just something for you to take away and check maybe in your offices to make sure. But I won't say make sure, just to better understand how the money and the finances are being handled at your local offices.
Well, the environment we're in now, with internet and network and everything else is, it's still Wild West, and so it's vitally important. You can be in a world of hurt if you don't have stuff, and that's why I've always paid attention to making sure that we have redundancy and backups and
There's so many ways into us.
there-
Like we're literally a public website with all our email addresses on it. It's so easy to grab. You can grab every counselor and send an email looking like the real deal. We get them all the time. I'm sure you guys do too.
Yeah.
I've seen all kinds of,
Yeah.
and it's happened. And I got calls, thankfully calls. Did you really need $20,000 for this? Or I'm like, how are you talking about? I mean, they do it. It's there. So, but like I said, our emails are all right there, and they can make like a group one. And
yeah,
you gotta be careful. Now you get some. I think that could probably get them through somehow.
Well, we're actually in the middle of upgrading our scale system, our scale software. I mean, our scale is of vital importance to the operation at solid waste. It's and I was getting a little nervous about it. So we'd already kind of started down this road, and it's actually next week the new system will go live. It's similar to the old system in functionality, although it has a lot more capabilities if we ever want them. But the important part was that the vendor that we got it from is well supported with a larger staff. Our old system was a guy that wrote it 25 years ago when they started, and it's been a similar system. He's updated it, but I mean, there's certain things like that that made me nervous. So that's of vital importance to that operation. So
to give you another example of how this can affect our municipalities, we have municipal water. Up until about when I first came in 6 years ago, it came to my attention that all our water was being run by Microsoft XP software. Well, they haven't supported that for years and years and years. Anybody could have hacked us, did whatever they wanted to do with our water. So we had that changed right away, and that's now up to date and secure.
It's a password.
But we don't think about this stuff on a daily basis. And all of a sudden, we look at it and we're well behind the power curve. And so just another tale for you to think about. Just make sure everything's up to date, especially on this software stuff. So it's more important than you think, I guess. I never thought of it until
Just
I
a
realized.
silly question, you know, even though they can get in and there's money. Is it set up like you just can't really, is there like maybe 2 action points before money can leave or?
Mhm.
It is, so it's gotta be set up, I hope.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, we do our banking through RBC, as you all know.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's not like your personal RBC online account. There's like I have a secure ID. I can't do anything without my thing, and then it requires more than one person.
Yeah, okay, that's the.
Yeah.
But they certainly make a mess of it though still.
Oh, yeah, just
Hold it for ransom.
Yeah, or that, yeah, that's right too. Good point.
Lock you out of your own system.
Yeah, don't forget City of St. John a few years ago,
I think they're still-
they're still paying for millions of dollars it cost them and.
Any last questions, comments on the financial report? Okay. Is there anything else that anyone would like to bring up before we conclude the meeting? Brad, I can see you now. You must have got home.
I'm at the hotel. Yeah, it's 28 Celsius here, and this is for you, Mayor McEcker. And there you go, buddy.
He's got it with him.
Took it with me. You gotta have it.
Al, did you have a question?
So where did we get any more from Mark about the weight charge? Like.
Oh, the tipping
yeah,
fee?
yeah, tipping fee, yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
but we're gonna discuss that at our next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I asked that question a little earlier, so I get out in front of you on that one. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, anything from the public that might come in, Hollis?
Just Brad's email for his committee stuff.
Okay. Thanks, Brad, for sending that in.
3 minutes before the meeting in style.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, John, thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Have a great week.
Guys.
Yeah.
Nine.